What's up, idols? It's CC Lesson 3. Welcome back to my channel. So as you can see, I'm outside. I wasn't planning to make this video at all. I came into town for a tattoo consultation. There's a lot that happened yesterday. The reason I wanted to make this video is because ever since Moonbin passed away yesterday, all over my timeline has been, news about his passing, and you see people leaving comments like, we need to protect these idols and these celebrities. They live under so much pressure. And while that is very true, it's a problem in Korea just in general. Korea has an issue with suicide and the pressure that is put on the citizens there, the expectations. By the way, I'm sorry for the outside noise. I happened to have my camera with me and I just decided to film because I started to get questions. There was one in particular. SkyX13 said, "Hey sis, just read about Moonbin's suicide. Is this a common thing in K-pop? Was it spoken about in Korea while you lived there?" So yeah, I just felt like I wanted to talk about this because Korea has this problem with suicide. And it kind of reminds me of America's problem with guns. It happens a lot, right? And in the immediate aftermath, people are like, oh no, thoughts and prayers, oh no, rest in peace, oh no, this, what a tragedy. And then it fades away until it happens again. And unfortunately, it always goes away without any real change or anything being done to potentially solve the problem and prevent it from happening again. For example, in 2017, when Chinese Jonghyun passed away, everybody was talking about it. Even the president was talking about it. And at my school, my mentor teacher was talking about it. She wanted us to talk with the kids about it because Shiny was a big group. They were one of like the pioneers of K-pop, and they still are. So I was pretty hopeful that surely now, with everybody talking about it, something will be done. It kind of came and went and died down again. And then Sully passed, and then Guada passed. And it's just, there's so many. It's sadly hard to keep track of, just like the US with the shootings. A lot of the comments were like, oh, we need to protect these idols and these celebrities, but this happens to everyday Koreans as well. A lot of people might not know this, but even the elderly in Korea, if you've been to Korea, you've seen the ajumas walking around late at night collecting cardboard. And oftentimes, Korean elderly people feel like they might be a burden to their family members. They might not have a way of life, so they decide to end it. So I'm looking around because people are coming close, and 1 second. It's okay. It's okay. They were nice. Anyway, Korea's retirement system isn't the best. A lot of the times, older people rely on their children and their family to support them in their old age. And when they don't get that, or they feel like they're a burden, they end up taking their own lives. We were just talking about this on my channel too, bullying. A lot of kids, teenagers, as a result of bullying, end up taking their own lives. Started walking away and I remembered something else. Even when I talk to like guy friends in Korea, they mention how depressing the military is. So even in the military, they want to kill themselves while they're doing their mandatory military service. Because it's depressing, it's lonely, they feel isolated, and they don't want to be there. So, sorry, that's just one more thing I had to add. You have overworked people in just office workers. It's just too much. There's too much work, too much pressure, too much stress, not enough time to enjoy living your life. And that's why consistently and steadily, Korea has one of the highest suicide rates in the world. It's just so frustrating how you see Korea's government comes up with plans like, oh, let's give people $500 a month to integrate back into society and to not be a recluse anymore. They always try to incentivize you to want to do what they want you to do for their economy and society as a whole, but not working on what can actually make people happy. People don't talk enough about mental health. Therapy is expensive. Instead of focusing on what makes people feel that way, what makes people hesitant to have kids, what makes people want to isolate themselves and be a recluse, they try to cover it up and offer a little quick, cheap incentive. Like, there's no doubt South Korea has a life crisis at this point. They have one of the highest rates of suicide in the world, and they also have one of the lowest birth rates in the world. That's not a good combination. I remember, being a teacher at elementary school, these kids, 8 years old, would go to school during the day, have my after-school English program, and then go to a hagwon to study some more, and then go home and do it all again. From a super young age, you're just under a lot of pressure to succeed. There's a few universities and schools you got to get into. There's a few professions you got to get into. There's too much competition for these good jobs and these desirable jobs. Of course, we have to do what we can to make sure idols and celebrities' lives aren't even more stressful than it already is. Their lives aren't their own. Their privacy doesn't exist. They can't date who they want. They have to look a certain way. They have to make a certain sound. They have to make a lot of music. That is one thing that always amazed me with Korean music. You could have 4 or 5 albums a year, and each album is called a comeback, even though there's only been like 2 or 3 months since the last one. Whereas in the West, you get an artist who would make one album, and then over the course of a year or two release singles from that album. So they don't have to make as much music to keep up, you know what I mean? It just makes me feel sad. And of course it's always sudden and unexpected, but You know, when I see posts like, oh, we failed to protect Moonbin, you can't save somebody if you don't know that there's a problem. Everyone smiles on the outside. You never know what somebody's going through or what they're dealing with on the inside. So you can't help someone if you don't know that they need help. I don't want this video to be long or anything, but this is an issue that just keeps reoccurring. Again, I compare it to mass shootings in America and gun violence in America because it seems so similar. Loss of life followed by thoughts and prayers, nothing done to prevent that loss of life from happening again. It's just like, it's such a beautiful day today, and to think Moonbin's not here with us anymore. You never know what somebody's going through. And I don't claim to be like a massive Astro fan or anything like that, but they definitely have some bangers. Like when I think of Sully, all the hate she was getting for being herself and being different. Guada, she was going through a public breakup and criminal lawsuit situation. I don't remember the details, but I remember her ex-boyfriend violated her privacy and her safety, and the courts did not side with her in her favor. Sadly, even nowadays when you go on Instagram and you see like their last post and how it looks so happy and normal, and then to know that that's the last thing they're ever gonna post. To answer that comment that I got that made me want to make this video, it's not talked about enough. It's only talked about in the immediate aftermath, and then people go about their regular lives. They go back to being overworked, overstressed, overpressured until it happens again. I've read a story last week about how a teenager live streamed her suicide. It happens so often. When you go on the bridges, you see these signs that tell you don't jump, call for help. It's just society needs to change. That's all I'm gonna say.